information down. That's what led agents to the Houston property Friday night. Dobbs also wrote that while agents were at Rocky Houston's house, Leon Houston showed up on a four-wheeler with a pistol and 2 rifles. And then, according to another warrant, Leon Houston, who's not a felon, admitted to having been smoking marijuana and was arrested. Now, neither brother apparently resisted arrest, which is a little bit new for these guys, because normally resisting something they enjoy doing. Juries in an appellate court cleared the brothers of any charges in the May 11th, 2006 shootout that killed a Roane County deputy and his ride-along. But Rocky Houston racked up felony convictions in 2010 for a chase with the police that occurred back in 2004. He insisted the convictions weren't legitimate and that he wouldn't give up his guns. Now, they both could face up to 10 years in prisons and fines of up to $250,000 each if convicted as charged. The brothers each stood trial on double murder charges in the shootout that killed Deputy Bill Jones, 53, and his ride-along, Mike Brown, a 44-year-old former police officer. Prosecutors said that the brothers killed the pair when Jones and Brown came to the family farmhouse to serve a warrant for Rocky Houston on the charge of failure to appear in court. The Houston said that the men came to kill them as part of a decades-long police harassment campaign. Prosecutors couldn't prove who shot first, and no jury convicted either brother of any crime in the shootout. The first jury to hear Leon Houston's case deadlocked in July of 2008, and a second jury found him not guilty on all charges a year later. Rocky Houston's jury in December of 2008 found him not guilty on some charges and deadlocked on other charges. The judge failed to declare a mistrial, and an appellate court ruled that he couldn't be tried again. The brothers most recently made news last year when they posted photos of bodies of Jones and Brown on a billboard at the family farm, saying that they wanted the world to know what happened the last time officers came to the property uninvited. The brothers have filed various lawsuits against state and county officials claiming civil rights violations, and all of those have been dismissed by various judges. Rocky Houston was quoted as saying that we fear for our lives. The felonies are out the door. I will be purchasing a firearm to defend my life. I will be exercising my right to vote, and I'm considering running for public office. As the story progresses, we'll of course continue to follow it because it is very much a local story. But for those of us who have any real knowledge of the Houston brothers, it's just a case of the circus continuing. These guys have had 9 lives when it comes to their court hearing, and the fact that they didn't get magically disappeared after killing police officers is amazing in and of itself. These guys are trouble. They're criminals. They are the victims of a conspiracy, at least in their own mind. I'd say that we're all probably just a little bit safer that they're in federal custody at the moment. At any rate, let's take this opportunity to go ahead, take a commercial break, and then we'll get to today's surprise press conference. Hello and welcome back to Tap Into the Truth. Now we're going to talk about today's surprise press conference that the occupier gave, where he comes out swinging once again about the debt ceiling in Congress and all these wonderful little stories the left like to tell. I mention this only because it happened a few hours before the press conference was announced. That is, early this morning, I was posting on several social media sites I'll just go ahead and read the full quote. As the whole debt ceiling debate swiftly approaches, prepare to hear things from the office of the occupier about defaulting on the debt and how this will affect Social Security checks going out and payroll checks for our military. You know, the same things they did the last time this issue was addressed. But know this, that will only happen if that's what the occupier wants to happen. It is within the executive authority of the office of the president to prioritize payment of obligations in the event that Congress does the responsible thing and refuses to continue adding to the national debt by raising the debt ceiling any further. The federal government takes in billions of dollars every month. There's no shortage of cash, just less than what they want to spend. The Democrats claim that the 14th Amendment would allow the occupier to raise the ceiling himself is a load of fertilizer. All the 14th Amendment says about the public debt is that Congress cannot ignore it. Choosing not to increase it is not ignoring it. And it does not say that the office of the president can do jack. Period. Now, I stand by those statements. But it was almost prophetic if you happen to have heard this particular press conference. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around the part where Obama says that he won't negotiate with a gun at the head of the American people, making the accusation that the GOP, that the Republicans are trying to hold America hostage. He said on more than one occasion that America is not a deadbeat country. He went on to accuse the GOP of being responsible for the downgrade in the American credit rating over the last time we talked about the debt ceiling. That wasn't because we were talking about stopping the increases in the debt ceiling. We lost that credit rating as a result of the fact that it looked like we were just going to continue raising it. One of the other surprising quotes is that he said that the debt limit has nothing to do with spending. I'm sorry, nothing to do with new spending. Every time you authorize an increase in the debt, you're increasing the amount of interest that has to be paid. That, by definition, would be new spending. Maybe because Barack has never had to pay his own debts at some point. Maybe because he gets to take Hawaiian vacations on someone else's dime. Maybe he doesn't understand that that constitutes new spending. It is unfathomable that there will be somebody drinking this particular flavor of Kool-Aid, but based on the media reaction, there were folks just waiting to pounce on this. This is on the verge of being insanity. But also, during the course of this press conference, what did he do? He said that Social Security checks and Medicare benefits and our military won't get their checks on time, that somehow it'll be delayed, that we have to pay our debt, Congress has to pay our debt. He said that whether they want to do it themselves or if they want to give him the authority to do it, it's going to get done. He's not even going to negotiate. Isn't it funny how certain members of the political establishment on the left who talk about a gentler tone, but then use terms like, you've got a gun to our head. How they talk about compromise, and then they turn around and tell you that it's their way or the highway, and that the American people agree. I don't know which American people you're talking to, Mr. Occupier, but the overwhelming majority of the American people agree that it's time something got done about the wasteful spending. What you're talking about is reductions in the increases of spending, not actually stopping the increases, just reducing how much you're going to increase it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are a conservative, it is now your responsibility to do what the Republican Party seems to be incapable of doing. It is now your responsibility to pick up the mantle and go out here and discuss these points and make it clear to everyone that you know that this isn't a left versus right issue, that this is a if America is going to survive issue. It has to be understood that the Republicans, the conservative parts of the Republican Party, at least on this particular issue, are trying to make a stand in regards to what's best for America. We've got to get real budget cuts, but before we can do that, we've got to have a real budget. We don't have one. We haven't had one in 4 years. No budget at all. The Senate refuses to pass one. At least the House has passed one and offered it, and then it gets squashed and nothing gets done. Obama's only offered 2 budgets. I'm almost tired of trying to explain multiple times to those who don't seem to understand that it's the job of the person who's assumed the office of president to offer a budget each and every year, and it's up to Congress to make whatever changes are necessary, but Congress has to authorize it. The president has no authority to increase the debt ceiling regardless. The president does have the authority to prioritize payments of the obligations with what is available. So if Congress decided not to raise the debt ceiling, the president would have to pay the bills, and he would have to decide what he's going to prioritize. There is more than enough revenue that the federal government is getting each and every month to meet the Social Security obligations, to meet the military payroll obligations, and a dozen other things. There are places that would have to be cut. There are certain government services that would have to be suspended. Who knows for how long? Most of those are redundant or unnecessary to begin with, though. So what's the big loss? We could go line by line through what is being signed off on by the occupier each and every month as far as cash flow moving from the hands of the government into the individual citizens. And I think you'd see that a lot of what would be hurt is the vote buying programs. It's just pretty ridiculous. Ladies and gentlemen, that is tonight's show. We'll probably discuss this in a little more depth a little later. But I want to thank you for listening. Thanks for joining us. Hope that you'll join us again soon. This is Tim Tapp, and this has been Tap Into the Truth. Good night, everybody.